So Oregon took care of their business on Friday night.
That they did.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot of takeaways. They put up 500 yards of offense. That's the 5th time this season they've put up 500 yards of offense. Now, it is Minnesota, but would you care to guess who ranks nationally, not conference, who ranks nationally in plays 20-plus yards down the field?
I would care to guess the Oregon Ducks.
Ooh.
Hey.
Correctamundo. Who ranks top 3 in 30-plus yards down the field plays?
The Oregon Ducks there. It's going to be my guess. Okay.
And who ranks top 10 in 50-plus yard plays down the field?
I'm going to guess the Oregon Ducks.
Correctamundo.
Hey, look at that.
Been a weird season because it feels like some of the takeaway is the offense is meh. And then you look at some of the advanced stats, and it backs it up. Now, they did do it again against Minnesota.
Sure.
A lot different to do it against Iowa versus Minnesota. But a nice showing. They took care of their business, and now they get ready for the real test, which is this weekend with the L.A. school coming to town.
The last 2 games of the year are going to be a lot of fun. We knew that Friday was basically a formality. It's just a question of, is it going to be uncomfortable? Are they going to do something stupid? Are they going to let Minnesota hang around? And the answer to all that was no. They came out and scored immediately on their opening drive. They had not scored on an opening drive in a game since what game? The Oregon State game, I think? Or the Oklahoma State game? It had been a minute since they scored on an opening drive.
No, it definitely wasn't the Oklahoma State game because that was the first run was up the middle, remember?
Yeah, they scored on their opening drive. I'm just saying, I don't think they did against Oregon State, and I don't think they did against Northwestern. So it had been a minute since they scored on their opening drive. So to come out and just get the ball first, you go down the field, you score, it's like, all right, that was nice to see. The only thing that needed to be corrected, I don't think their offense has been meh. I think their passing game at times has been meh.
Okay.
They have one of, if not the best rushing offense in all of college football.
No doubt. You're right.
Their
That's
backs
fair.
are averaging nearly 7, 8, 9 yards per carry. It happened again this weekend. Whittington averaged 9 yards a carry. Davidson averaged 8 yards a carry. They were breaking off chunk runs. They only had a combined 15 carries between the two of them, and it went for almost 140 yards on 15 carries. So those 2 guys have been dominant. Their offensive line switched up the guards a little bit. Not quite sure why they did that. Harkey was back this week. So the offensive line was doing what they needed to do, and they were running the ball, and that's never been a question or a concern about Oregon. I think even when you look at their lone loss this year, one of the primary reasons they lost that game was because at the time they hadn't found their identity as an offense yet. And I think their identity now, they know, is a downhill, powerful running team. And I think that's going to be the MO this weekend against USC. We're going to run it until you can stop it.
Yeah.
We're more physical than you, we're bigger than you, we're stronger than you, and you can't slow us down at the point of attack. And then off of that, you're going to get play action boot and Dante Moore with all day to throw because the defense is so geared up on trying to slow down the rushing attack. The passing offense has not been terrible this year. It just has had weeks where it's looked clunky. And I think the question has been, is it a Dante thing? Is it an opponent thing? The last couple of weeks, has it been a weather thing?
I was going to say Wisconsin and Iowa both. One is
they're played in monsoons. It's hard to throw the football in those
and wind
settings.
in Wisconsin makes it really difficult.
So I think that was the biggest takeaway from the game and it was the only thing I asked for going into front. I don't have a lot of questions about Oregon's defense. They did exactly what I thought that they would. They controlled the majority of the game.
Yep.
One of Minnesota's scores came because you screwed up whatever it was, a reverse where you throw it to Perry and he tries to toss it to either, I can't remember if it was Hill or Whittington. You fumble the ball, you hand him a short field, they kick a field goal in that spot.
Yeah, you were about to be up 21-0.
You were driving to go up 21-0. Things just kind of, they went sideways for a second. So that was one of the scores. I have no questions about Oregon's defense, and I have no questions about Oregon's ability to run the football. I just wanted to see their passing offense look great. And Dante Moore, again, without Decorian Moore and without Gary Bryant, who was out again this week, essentially playing with wide receivers 4, 5, 6 now on the depth chart.
He at least had Sadiq with him.
He did, and he was back this week, and he had maybe his best game in an Oregon uniform.
Yep.
He set the program record for completion percentage in a game. He was 27 of 30 for 306 yards, averaging 10 yards a throw. He was pushing the ball down the field. He was accurate. That was the only thing that I wanted to see from that game is, can we build confidence in the passing offense going into the last 2 weeks of the season? Because we can all look and laugh at Minnesota and say, well, it's not that good of a win. They're not good on the road, and all of that is true. When you look at the statistical metrics, that's the best defense you're going to play the rest of the year. Their defense this year has been better than USC's, and their defense this year has been better than Washington's. And so just check that box. They checked the box, and now we get to figure out where they go in the last 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah, that's good enough for me. I don't have a lot of other stuff to add from the Minnesota game. We talked about the Minnesota fans enjoying the atmosphere. I think the takeaway today to me is more about the game this week. And I think it's just for however you feel about it, Oregon has largely been handling this USC stuff on the field. And so this week I get a text on Saturday night from the firm host, Danny Meringue, of the Joker meme, and here we go. And I'm like, dude, you barely beat Iowa at home and you're a better home team certainly than you are a road team. And look, maybe I'll be disrespectful a little bit here. It's 8.5. I
think
just
it's 9.5.
Did it go up to 9.5?
Yeah,
It
The
opened
line
at
has
8.
gone
I
up.
saw.
The line has gone up.
Yeah, I think Lincoln's reaction kind of tells me how I should feel about this. He was celebrating like he won the conference. He's jumping up and down, hugging his coaches because he beat Iowa.
He desperately needed that win.
Yeah,
and they
and
were manhandled the entire first half,
was
and it didn't look like they
14-0.
were going to win that game.
It was 21-7, and
Yeah.
you're like, they're not going to do this, are they? And they eventually
Credit
did.
to them for coming back and winning
Absolutely.
that game.
But there's nothing about USC on the road that makes me feel as excited as I should be about this game. On paper, this is a, hey, 2-loss Big Ten team, 2-loss Big Ten team, maybe the final playoff spot for the conference.
Could be
or
it.
1-loss,
Yeah.
Big Ten team, and 2-loss Big Ten team.
The winner of this game could be the final
Yes.
Big Ten team in the playoff, for sure.
It's the playoff, right? And that's what this is about. But USC's recent history against Oregon paired with USC on the road is just, it takes a little out of it. But I know that's not the case for Duck Fan because it's USC and the online trash talking is going to be really loud this week.
Well, I think it's a game that is more than just a game, if that makes sense. It's a game for the team that dominated the West Coast forever.
For most
and
people's lives.
For all of our lives. The last team from the West Coast to win a national championship, which is now, 21 years ago when they won their last national championship. So it's been a minute for us out on the West Coast. But, I mean, they were the premier program. And I think every Oregon fan remembers. I'll be curious to see what uniforms they wear this week. It won't be a night game. That was disappointing to find out it was a 12:30 kick. I was hoping it was going to be a 4 o'clock kick on NBC, but we heard last week likely going to be 12:30. Mm-hmm. This game is more than just about winning and getting a step closer to the college football playoff. It's about reasserting the dominance that you've had over this program for basically 20 years. I think since 1998, Oregon is 12-6 against USC.
Wow.
And that is including that run with Pete Carroll. That's not just, you could, cherry picking, like that's not since 1998, man. That's nearly 30 years ago. They're 12-6 against USC. USC right now has the number one recruiting class in the country. I would argue
that's not a talent composite thing, though, isn't it?
They
Isn't
have
it just
35 commits.
Yeah.
Oregon has 18 commits,
That's
so they have
what it's
nearly
about.
twice as many commits. Oregon's ranking per recruit is significantly better than USC, so they got a ton of 4 stars and a bunch of 3 stars in the back end of it. But again, this is a recruiting battle team. This is asserting your dominance on the West Coast. This is no disrespect to Washington, who is making some nice inroads in recruiting. You're not recruiting at this level, and it's going to be a long time until you recruit at this level. So it's just it's a chance to reassert who is the powerful program on the West Coast, and they got a chance to do it on Saturday.
To be fair, too, and we have a lot to get to with this throughout the week. Like, we'll talk with Ryan Abraham at some point. He's a pretty realistic guy who covers USC. Like, yeah, I think you're right, but also I feel like it's kind of been established. This is more for the other team to prove they can still be in the conversation in this regard, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. Like I think the thought of most people going into this game is going to see we'll believe it when we see it.
Right.
USC, that was look. I give them a ton of credit. I was ready to fire off all sorts of USC jokes on Saturday. They were dominated for the majority of that first half. They looked lost offensively. Iowa was doing whatever they wanted to at the line of scrimmage.
It was Iowa's football game.
They
the way it was
looked
being
like
played.
they were dead in the water,
Yes.
and we've seen USC lose that game so many times. And
Right.
for them to battle back and find a way to win, and Lemon making all the catches that he did, dear God, that guy's incredibly
How about
talented.
some jump balls, huh?
In the pouring rain, like just insane catches, man. He went off, and that offense figured it out. So I will give them a ton of credit for winning that game. There's a massive difference between winning at home in the rain against USC and coming on the road to Autzen and what will likely be the loudest environment of the year. Because we talked about the Indiana game going in.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, I think there would have been more juice on the game now, knowing that if you were playing Indiana this week and they're undefeated and number 2 in the country, there'd be a little more juice on that game. But at that time, we were still doing the thing to Indiana of,
They haven't done it.
Do we really believe
I know.
it? Like that was, you don't have that thought with Oregon and USC. You don't need it. USC could be below 500 coming into this game, and Autzen would be charged up. And so I think it's going to be one of the toughest environments they played in all year. They did not fare well when they went on the road to Notre Dame, and they were losing the majority of the game to Nebraska until Dylan Raiola broke his leg, and the backup quarterback came in, and USC found something and mounted a comeback. And so I think for a lot of people, it's we'll believe it when we see it. USC fans are chirping a ton, saying, hey, I thought we couldn't win Big Ten games. I thought we couldn't be physical, and I will give them credit for winning that Iowa game. There's a big difference beating Iowa at home and coming on the road and doing it to Oregon and Autzen.
Yeah, I think they'd say, well, we did it in that weather, though.
You did do it
And
in the
I'd be
weather.
like,
Congratulations. And guess what? It's going to be Saturday in Eugene. Not supposed to be pretty.
No.
It's supposed to rain. Our guy Pate's coming out, though. We got that.
Yes. Well, so is game day.
So is game day.